My name is J. Ignacio.
Reinhard,
Pleasure to meet you.
pleasure to meet you.
So I'm a first-time comic book writer, and you are a veteran. So I should be learning from you. And this year, the Philippines is the guest of honor at the Frankfurt Buchmesse, and so there are a lot of activities that we're doing now, leading up to the guest of honor participation in Frankfurt. And also today they gave us several topics, random topics to discuss. They've written them down on cards, and I will start off with this one. You've conducted extensive research for your work. Could you share an anecdote about a surprising discovery along the way? And what advice would you offer fellow creatives when it comes to research?
Yeah, I have to say that research is a big part of my working process because usually I work with real history or biographical topics, and so there's a lot of research involved, like looking for material that you find in books, films, videos, online, a lot of picture search, especially, and and also I want to have a personal connection to the subject I'm working on. So, for example, I was going to when I did the research for a book about a Somali sportswoman. I went to Italy to go to organizations that were involved in the migration work and documenting the work, and because it's a book about migration. And also I want to talk to people that were involved in the life of several protagonists that I'm working on. For example, David Bowie. The last book was about David Bowie, and so I talked to his sound engineer in Berlin, and then, well, yeah, I did a book about Nick Cave, and I had the possibility to talk to Nick Cave himself, and that was a very, very funny, how you say that, working process, because he gave me some hints and some ideas, and they totally changed my approach to this, to the whole work. So I always advise people that work on real life stories and stories that have to do with history to get a personal approach. If you just look for facts and just look in materials from books and so on, you should try to get a personal approach to people, through places, that you go to places, that you get a personal feeling towards the subject.
Is it a personal choice of yours to work on biographical comics, or is there some other style of or genre of comics that you would like to do?
I did other works. I did, for example, I did a vampire series that's placed in Berlin.
Okay.
That was not very successful, I have to say. And then I did my first book about a famous musician, Johnny Cash.
Yes, yes.
And it was a lot of fun to do, and it got very successful. It was my starting point for my career. And so I decided I want to work in this field with biographies, also with historical stuff. So I concentrated on that, and it's still fun. But now, after extensive works on that, I want to go to somewhere completely different.
Okay. What kind of surprises along the way when you were researching? I'm assuming you were familiar with all the subjects that you wrote about.
Yeah.
So
cannot
were there
really
any
say-
surprises along the way when you learned more about these, like David Bowie, for example, or
Yeah,
Nick
I
Cave?
cannot really say surprises. It's more like that, for example, your relationship towards the person or the subject changes, and
Right.
You get more and more information, and you go like, wow, this I didn't know this. And
Okay.
yeah, for example, I did a book about a boxer, and
You did two
I did
boxers,
yeah, I did two
right?
boxers. Yeah, it was called Knockout.
Yes,
And
yes.
it's about this gay boxer, Emil Griffith. And then during the research, I found out that he was not only a boxer, that he was also designing women's hats. And,
Really?
So this is some things that you find along the way, and you go like, wow, this is unbelievable. And
Okay.
what kind of person is that? I want to know more about
right.
him. Then you get a personal relationship, and after a while, when you write down the dialogues, you start talking to the person in your head. The personality becomes real for yourself, and you start. And that's what I want to portray in the drawings. I want to show a real person, that when the reader reads the book, that this person comes alive.
Okay. Well, you write about real people. I wrote a complete work of fiction.
Yeah, I
But,
want to know more about that.
It was the importance of having the story grounded on truth in order to make it feel real, feel
Yeah.
like it happened. We have traditional stories in the southern part of the Philippines from the indigenous tribes, and I felt like their stories would be best told by them.
Yeah.
Whereas I, not having been immersed in their culture, I feel like I'm writing it as a tourist. But so the historical data that I had to ground the story in, that's where I did a lot of research.
Yeah. So how do you start working on the story? You have the story from history or the
Yeah.
legend.
Well,
and then
this
you turn it-
particular book began as my imagination from data that I gathered, because years ago I did a documentary film about the history of Filipino martial arts. And there were accounts of the people from the southern region, which was never really part of the Philippines during the Spanish period. They never conquered it successfully. But they wanted to steal it. So that region, the Sulu archipelago, often clashed with the Christianized parts of the Philippines. So they would do, they were essentially pirates raiding these islands. And so the Spanish would gather the parishioners as as a form of militia. And they trained them in Spanish fencing and military style. So whatever indigenous fighting styles they had were incorporated with fencing that they learned from the Europeans.
Yeah.
And that became the martial art that we call today eskrima or arnis.
Yeah, and that is still practiced today.
Today, yes, yes. So it was just my imagination of how these clashes might have looked like, because the fighting style of the pirates would have been very different. They practiced silat, which is closer to what you'd see in Indonesia
Okay.
and Malaysia. So that became, I built a story around that clash. But then I had to work backwards and find a proper setting.
Yeah. So what would interest me is, as a person that also making the drawings, did you instruct the artist to portray the different fighting techniques in the drawings?
Yes, I actually took lessons in silat.
Really?
And took videos so that the artist could have a working knowledge of the movement. And then I sent him videos of, because I practice arnis.
Yeah.
So I sent him some old videos of my lessons in arnis, so that he could see the difference in the way they moved, the way they planted their feet on the ground, and and what kind of weapons they use. They were very different from each other.
Yeah.
So I sent him a lot of reference
Yeah.
material
Well, that's
for
a
that.
very, very personal approach.
Yes, yes. Well, shall we go to the next
yeah,
topic?
this
I'll
is
let
my
you
turn,
do it.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, your storytelling often has cinematic quality. Which films have had the greatest impact on your work?
Wow. I am a big fan of Sergio Leone.
Me too.
So I find his opening sequences of very long, drawn out, very annoying sounds to be the perfect tension builders. Because it's later you get to understand where that sound is actually coming from and
Yeah.
what role it plays in the whole scenario. And my favorite is from my favorite opening sequence is from Once Upon a Time in the West. I don't know what the German title is, but it's the one with Charles Bronson.
Mm-hmm. I know
my
exactly
favorite.
what you mean.
Yeah,
Well, this would also be my main director.
wow, okay.
Also the scene where the way they place the camera and
Yes.
they go from wide shot to close up and this is-
Extreme close-up. Sometimes
extreme
it's just
close-ups,
the
yeah.
finger twitching or just the eye.
yeah, and then the fly. came
Right,
around
the
face,
fly.
Yeah. This is just you can learn so much from that for
Yes,
storytelling
yes.
for comics, because in comics you can do the same. When I do
Yes.
workshops, I always instruct my students, okay, go with the camera, you can do whatever you want in a comic, there's
Yeah.
no limitations. You can go here, you can go very close, there, there. And then, I tell them examples from film history like Sergio Leone.
Right, right. I actually caught by accident. I was walking home to my friend's apartment. This was in Rome, and I walked by the altar of Caesar Augustus.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was called the Peace Altar. But next to it was a gallery, and there was a Sergio Leone exhibit.
What?
What? So I walked in, and it was the last. No, I was leaving for Manila the next day,
Mm-hmm.
and it was close to. I think I had 2 hours left of that exhibit for the day. So I walked in and saw as much as I could. It was really inspiring to see all what he took from Yojimbo and
Uh-huh.
and all Once Upon a Time in America. Even the drawings of the costumes were very inspiring.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah, for Claudia Cardinale, the designs of her dresses, and Henry Fonda.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
Also
of
like-
course, the music of Ennio Morricone is what drives me the most.
Mhm, yeah,
He has been my biggest artistic influence.
yeah, me too.
More than this is incredible. We are aligned with
I
our
still
tastes.
have some vinyls from Ennio Morricone music.
Really,
in my
really.
house.
I watched him 3 times.
Oh wow,
Yeah,
yeah.
that was such a thrill.
I also like how they use storyboards in these movies. There was a big exhibition of storyboards in Berlin a long time ago. You can see, for example, Spartacus.
Oh, wow.
From Stanley Kubrick.
Yeah,
They
wow.
had the storyboards there. Absolutely fantastic. How they used drawings, and you could immediately see the camera movement and how the actors were
And
placed.
it's the same language we use in comics,
It's
right?
absolutely the same. Yeah.
We have to learn cinematography, or at least the terminologies.
Yeah, but actually, as a comic artist, you are a whole film team in one person.
Right.
You are the actor, the director, the costume designer, the set designer, everything.
Everything, yes.
And that's what I think is most fun of developing a comic, but also a big responsibility.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Let's see what the
Next
next
one.
question is. Since both of you are musicians, what are the albums you listen to if you want to be in a creative mood? And can you explain how music influences and inspires your creative process? Oh, we were on the subject of Morricone.
Well, actually, yes, I was always listening to Morricone because he
Yeah.
was evolving pictures in my head,
Yes.
images, there were images coming up. And it was not about that I wanted to have the soundtrack for a particular movie, it was more that I wanted to have music that evokes pictures.
The mood, yes,
Yeah,
I
the
go for the
moods,
mood.
yeah. And well, since I work a lot about biographies of musicians, there are musicians that are very important for me,
Yes.
but they are storytellers. Johnny Cash is a storyteller.
Yes, yes.
Nick Cave, David Bowie in a different way.
Yes.
But I was always fascinated how they use music to illustrate their stories.
Right.
And and then, I'm not a musician. I work with musicians. I do these live drawing shows, and so that's where I put the other way around. In the books, I want to take the music and turn them into drawings, and for the concerts, I want to use my drawings to align with the music, to make something,
Right.
an artwork that's unique, that's together.
Right.
So music is always a big influence, and I'm not listening to David Bowie all the time. When I draw David Bowie, that would be too much. But music is always around me when I work.
Right. I can't work with music playing in the background when I'm writing. But what I do is...
No, that's the same, yeah.
Yeah.
Drawing.
So I have to write the scene first, and then to help with the imagination, I stand up, and then I'll play a tune that I need.
Mm-hmm.
So aside from Morricone, I would play sometimes... in this case, I was listening to Ottoman music.
Ottoman music.
Whatever I could find in online, you know.
Yeah. Why is there a connection?
I'm a fan of their percussion and the sound of the oud.
Yeah.
So it's hard to describe. It has a visceral. It affects me in the gut level. You know, and
So it's not that it has to do with the story, that you use the music to get into the story.
Like especially for the fight scenes or sometimes the drama.
Yeah.
And I wanted something. I wanted something as dramatic, because I find a lot of Southeast Asian music to be repetitive. You know, a lot of gongs and sometimes that shakes me up. So I need something with a little more breathing space. And I find Turkish music and Arabic music to be helpful in evoking that drama that I'm imagining.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I liked a lot when I was in Indonesia. I liked a lot the gamelan.
Yes,
music.
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
That's very Philip Glass
Yeah.
style, very repetitive. And
Right.
I love Philip Glass, and he's very good to work
Yes.
when you make drawings, because it's always the same, repeating, and it puts you in some kind of meditation mode. And
Right.
That's
Right.
very good for drawing. And when I don't have to think about anything, when I'm just doing the inking, then I listen to audiobooks.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
During the work on the Nick Cave book, I had the opportunity to listen to Dostoevsky, the whole book through.
Crime and Punishment? My goodness. How grim.
Yes.
Okay. Let's see what the next... Oh, no, it's your turn, no? Oh, no. Is it my turn?
Yeah.
Okay. My turn. Born in the 70s and coming of age in the 90s, you've witnessed dramatic technological transformations. Have these shifts influenced your creative work? And how do you continue to evolve with the changing times?
Ooh, that's a difficult question.
It's an age question.
Well, yes. When I started working in comic books, there was no digital work. It was just, you were making drawings, somebody photocopied it and photographed it and turned it into offset things I'm saying, and then they got printed. And now you're working digital, and
Right.
and so yeah, that influenced my work a lot. I used to do the coloring by myself with watercolors. Now I'm using digital when I do coloring, and so well, a lot of my work is also communicating with fans, social media, and that's also changing a lot of my art process.
Right.
And and thinking about it, well, we also have to deal with AI now, and
Yeah.
you have to deal how to use it, if you use it,
Yeah.
or how to protect my rights as an artist.
Right.
So that's also sometimes very frustrating part of my work now. So it's constantly changing, and you have to deal with it as an artist. And I'm not so much afflicted by it. I think that's the word, is it? But a lot of my colleagues, they have problems now because a lot of their jobs, their money jobs, are gone.
Are being taken.
Yeah, because AI is taking over. It's cheaper, and so yeah, some of my colleagues, they have a lot of problems.
Right. Well.
Yeah, how's it for you?
Well, I write. I don't illustrate. So for me, the digital technology for writing is of course a blessing. But also, since you mentioned social media, that's also influential in a sense that you get immediate feedback from your readers, or sometimes you can use them as your test audience. So you give them a preview of something and see if the idea works, or maybe the idea is not so good. And
so you do it through social media, like Facebook, Instagram, or?
Well, I wrote a short story that I self-published, also illustrated by Alex Nino. But I self-published that one, and I was able to get some feedback from my followers on social media if the book would sell or not. And fortunately, it did.
Yeah.
And that became a way for them to anticipate my next work. So when they all found out that, oh, I'm working with him again on a graphic novel, there was more excitement for it. So I guess it's the psychology of interaction that came into play for me.
Yeah. So you definitely think it's a good thing to communicate with the readership about.
I think so. I think if we had this technology back in the 90s when I was a musician, I had a rock band before.
What's the
and
name?
we were. The name is a joke, so it's the police. It's spelled in Filipino as a joke, so that the people there know the joke.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you were like the Sting.
The stink. So yeah, we wrote funny love songs and things of that sort. So we were known as the comedians, one of the comedians in the music scene. But yeah, but if this came on, if social media existed back then, it would have probably helped us a lot more reach a wider audience, because at that time we were heavily reliant on whatever the record label threw our way, or they schedule, oh, you're appearing on this TV show, you're appearing on this radio station, and it was all just that, and whatever our manager could throw in. But well, we are. I think we are better off today in terms of marketing and promotions.
Yeah, you can do a lot by yourself.
Yes,
That's true. Yeah. Okay, next one.
All right.
What are the books, including graphic novels, that shaped your work today?
Wow. Okay, I used to hate reading when I was in high school. Because I grew up on TV. I'm a TV educated boy. And I just did not enjoy reading. To me, the point what was the point if there's a movie of that book? But one day we were assigned to read The Count of Monte Cristo, Alexandre Dumas.
Yeah.
And that was one book I could not put down. I actually enjoyed it. And that was my gateway into enjoying the act of reading literature. And so from there, it just changed my life. So there's a lot of influence coming from that book. Also, even in Philippine literature, we have this national hero, Jose Rizal, who had his book published here in Germany. His ideas sparked the Philippine Revolution against Spain in the 1890s, and he also took inspiration from The Count of Monte Cristo. One of his characters is based on the disguise of Edmond Dante. How do you pronounce it? Dantes. Yeah. Yeah, so that's one book. Of course, another huge influence for me is the Middle-earth books of Tolkien.
Yeah.
And aside from Lord of the Rings, my favorite really is the Silmarillion. I'm a fan of origin stories, so I like going back to the past and how did this rivalry start?
And comics or graphic novels?
Yes, for graphic novels, it was Asterix. And for the more serious ones, my gateway really was Sandman.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah, and then I devoured as much Alan Moore as I could. So Watchmen, From Hell, V for Vendetta, and everything else he wrote. I just, whenever I had the chance to buy it, I would buy it.
Yeah, very good storytelling.
Yeah. And for you, what were your influences?
Well, as a kid, it was also definitely comic books, Asterix, and then well, when it comes to comics or graphic novels, my first biggest influences were Dave McKean and Sienkiewicz, these artists that used different techniques, more painting,
mixed
collage, mixed media,
Yeah.
very, very experimental. So I wanted to become the German Dave McKean.
Oh, really?
Which was not very successful. And then I discovered more the work of Will Eisner. And then I was more influenced by the people that were really, really good storytellers, like Will Eisner or Barue, for example. And
Contract with God.
Contract with God, yeah, or Autoroute du Soleil by Barue, which is still one of my favorite books. And so also my work changed in that direction. I wanted to use my art more to tell a story and not to convince people that I'm a good artist.
Okay. Right.
Yeah, and also, well, when I read books, I read a lot of real life books, biographies, or political stuff. But when it comes to stories, one of my favorite author, Cormac McCarthy.
Cormac McCarthy.
Yeah, The Road, for example. People that really have the possibility or the magic that you read, and then you're into the story immediately, and you have problems finding your way out. You don't want to close the book because you want to know what's going on. So this is pure magic for me still.
Yeah. Similar situation for me. Oh, this one is for me.
Okay, shall I read it?
Sure.
Yeah. Jay, you've conducted extensive research on Mindanao and, this is also for me, and Reinhard, you explored northern Iraq. What insights have you uncovered from these regions and how have you translated them into your books?
Wow. Tell me about northern Iraq. You were there for how long?
I was there twice. And the first time was, I don't know, 10 years ago maybe.
Okay.
I was in Kurdistan, and I was doing research for a story that I did for a French TV station, Arte.
Ah, yes.
And and I was in a camp for refugees from Syria.
Okay.
And so I talked with the people, I interviewed them, I made sketches of them, I made sketches of the camp and a lot of photographs, and then I used this research material to draw a short story about the camp, and that was my my approach to this subject. I wanted to do something about the theme of migration, and
Right,
the project from Arte was that they sent different artists in different camps in the world, and they should do research and like a portrait of these places in their
Okay.
technique. And then second time I went to northern Iraq with the Goethe Institute, and they set up a live drawing concert with me and Kurdish musicians.
Wow.
Like this kind of music that you were talking about. They were
Okay.
fantastic. That was one of my best experiences in my life.
Wow.
Yeah.
The Kurdistan that I visited was in southeastern Turkey.
Yeah.
Southeastern Turkey, and I some of them played their Kurdish music to me with the saz, and
Yeah. Wow,
somebody was
wow.
singing, and I did some research there last year for a comic book that I'm writing, because I wanted to get a proper feel of, because they still speak Aramaic, so I wanted to record them. You know.
So you're working on that story right now.
Yes, yes.
I'm looking
It's,
forward to see that.
Yeah, the story is set far back into the time of Emperor Diocletian. So the 300 AD.
So how do you do when you do a research journey like that? Do you get funding for this, or you have to
No,
finance yourself?
I have to do it myself.
Okay, yeah. So you you
I
have
I treat it as an investment into whatever it is that I'm
Yeah.
producing.
Yeah, but how do you organize the journey? I mean, it's not just a journey with flying and hotels, but you also have to
Right.
get into contact with the people.
There are. I have a friend who's a professional guide in Istanbul, and she's part of this network of professional guides around Turkey. So she connected me to somebody in the southeastern sector.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was communicating with him through WhatsApp, and
Yeah.
I'll say, I want to see this place and that place. I need to hear this. I need to record this. So I give him the list of things that I need, and he customizes the itinerary according to what I need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, in my case, Mindanao, the real research I had to do was on like farther away from Mindanao. Mindanao is the biggest island in the southern Philippines, and it's predominantly Islamic tribes. That's the predominant religion on that part. But further south and to the west, closer to Malaysia, is where this story is set. And I had to. I have some friends who are the Tausug is one of the tribes that one of the cultures, and I have some Tausug friends whom I consulted regarding their traditions, stories, and things like that. But I also had to hit the museums. Alex Nino, the artist, requested me to visit some museums because some of them had these dioramas depicting certain scenes in Philippine history, and then there are scale models of boats and ships. So I sent all these reference photos for him, to him, and then he let his imagination fly from there.
Okay, shall we proceed
Yeah,
to
okay,
the next
I'll
one?
read this.
Yeah, I think I'm done with my.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. How do readers engage with historical and biographical stories in graphic form? What is the reception to historical comics in the Philippines and Germany? What role do they play in cultural discourse?
Oops. um, I would say the role is getting bigger and bigger in Germany.
For
More
biographical-
for biographical comic books or political, historical
yes.
comic books.
Yes.
And a lot of comic books are used in schools now. And it's still, I find it fascinating, it's still that it's not only kids, it's also the grown-ups, and that
Right.
if you gave them photos or films of difficult subjects, like for example, if you take the theme of migration,
Right.
people go like, oh no, not again, I don't want to see it. But if you use a comic book, they're like, oh, that's interesting. Oh, this is
Really?
a character, and then they start reading. And I had a lot of really, really nice conversations with children in school when I was showing them the book of this Somali sprinter.
Okay.
And they really identified with the main character, and
Right.
they got a very, very personal approach to the theme, and they asked really nice questions, and you could really see that they were emotionally touched. And I think that still has to do with the art, the drawings.
Right.
It's easier to identify with a character that's drawing
Right.
than with photos.
Right.
So you can actually use that in the social discourse, and a lot of organizations they are using comic books now in Germany to talk about certain themes and to start conversations, discussions about difficult themes.
Well, I can't help but notice this biographical comic in front of us here. A very, shall we say, a very polarizing subject matter.
Yeah, yeah,
The ideology of Herr Herzl.
yeah. I don't know anything about the book.
I've not read this.
yeah.
It's just there. I noticed it, and so well, I don't know if it's. I guess this would appeal. Children would understand this because of the visuals, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Right.
It's a style you can very easily identify with.
Right.
And yeah, I think it still works very, very, very fast. It's a theme jumps into your mind when you see a drawing. That's,
Yeah.
drawings they're not only portraying a person in the countryside, but in some of images here, the drawing develops its own world.
Right.
Like you see
Right.
the head with the raven inside, and immediately you have an idea of what might be going on there. And really, it's within 1 second.
Right.
You see it, and bam, it's there. You don't have to
And
read
especially
a long text.
now where we have geopolitics up front and center in what's going on globally. So yeah, whatever your feelings about Mr. Herzl,
Yeah,
you cannot deny the impact of his ideas
Yeah.
affecting us
yeah.
to this very day.
Yeah, I don't know in which direction this book goes.
I don't
but,
know.
It can also be a critical approach.
Could
to
be.
this.
I don't know. I've seen it. I've only seen it for the first time.
Yeah.
And it's right here in front of us. All right.
Okay, so I take the next one.
Down to the last two. Okay.
Do you believe graphic novels are an effective medium for discussing political issues Why or why not? How do you balance political commentary with character-driven storytelling? Okay, we can just extend this.
Yeah. Right. Well, graphic novels are immediately effective to a certain age group, right? The younger ones, because of the visuals. But for the more mature audience, it also helps, especially if for example, the illustration style is also a bit more mature. So if somebody like Dave McKean probably produced a comic book about migration, I think people of our age group would gravitate towards that. Yeah. Either way, I find the graphic novel a very effective means of stimulating discussion and leading towards certain ideas. Because I have these books about American and British journalists who write about the CIA. They were former insiders and things like that, or former contract. What do you call them? The contractors. Yeah, the private companies that dress, in military outfit, but they're not really with the army.
Yeah.
I would buy into a graphic novel version of those things as well. So, yeah, to actually see for example, the weapons that are exchanged, or built for certain purposes.
Yeah. I think all art forms that they have their way how to deal with subjects. I mean, in Germany, it was very, very often it was said, "Oh, comic books are just for children,
Right.
and it's just funny." And
Same for us.
You cannot deal with any serious issue in a comic book. But in Germany, comic books were considered for just for children. But then the movement of graphic novels came, and then a lot of publishing houses and bookstores, they made an effort to promote comic books that were more for mature readers, and that was very successful actually. Comic books, I still also consider graphic novels as comic books. They became more attention in the media, and also a lot of the subjects that some graphic novels were talking about, they became a subject of the public discussion.
Right.
Let's take, for example, Maus. It had a
Spiegelman.
Spiegelman. It had a huge impact on discussion, and also books like Persepolis became very, very influential.
Right.
And then they also, they turned them into movies, and so all the arts, they came together, and also theater plays, and I think still there is more opportunities to include comics into a political discussions, or to put them together with other art forms. We are still haven't reached the high point yet. There's still more to come.
Similar for us, but in the Philippines, fortunately, in the last maybe 3 or 4 years, the comic book genre of literature has become has been grabbing the attention of the international market, so much so that I think we are now one of the most translated genres of Philippine literature. So it's really special that this time, we're going to be the guest of honor in Frankfurt, and there's going to be a big exhibit on Philippine graphic novels. Yeah, so it has been dead for a long, well, not dead, but we are experiencing a resurgence in the last 10 or 15 years. Whereas before it was, we had famous illustrators like here, Alex Nino, but that was 50 years ago, when there was this Philippine invasion of American comics, and now 50 years later, it's our stories, both in the graphic novel and the traditional literature, that are grabbing the attention of foreign publishers. So it's a great time to be here, I would say.
Yeah, yeah. So you have some publishers for comics in the Philippines.
Yes.
Yeah. In how the sales.
Well, we are. I don't know the numbers, but
yeah. I have also no idea about the book sales.
I don't know the numbers, but yeah, we are experiencing a bigger readership this time.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, including zines and independent, like short stories, what they call ash cans. I don't know what you call them here. They're like photocopied.
Fanzines.
You know, very simple but independent and very good stories.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of that going on as well.
A lot of that is now in online.
Yes, we have online versions as well.
Yeah. My publishing house, they also have like very big, like Harry Potter stuff like that, and they say that there's a big scene of fan fiction. It's called.
Yes.
And most of it is published online, and then some of it they turn into books.
So one question is for me. What has it been like collaborating with Alex Nino, whose style is very distinct and defined? That's for me. And for you, the question is, how do you find the process of working with musicians or capturing a living person's story? So let's start with you.
That's for me, yeah. Well, it's... When you deal with a biography, you have something like a skeleton for the story. You have the facts, and then you have to find your way around it. You have to find a story in this line of facts, and you also have to find a theme. and I always I don't just want to make a story about a musician and just put the facts in the line. I also want to work on a theme. So with Johnny Cash, it was the theme about freedom and being in a prison, your own prison or a real prison. Yeah. With Nick Cave, it was a book about the relationship between the artist and his artwork, and when his artwork comes to life and his characters become living, and they confront their maker. So that was the idea.
His mental health issues.
He was kind of a mental health issue. He really liked that. And then with David Bowie, it was about the relationship between the artist and his audience, and what the audience projected on the rock star.
Right.
So this is something that I like to work on when I do a biography. I want to find the personal relationship to what it also has to do with me and myself.
Right. Well, in my case, working with Alex Nino, I wanted to create a story that would look like it came from the 1950s Philippines. And people spoke a certain way back then, more cinematic. And so the original plan was to I was writing the story in Filipino. And the script I gave Alex was actually in Filipino. And it was late. When my publisher picked it up later, he's the one who asked me to just write it in English because they had plans. To market this abroad, and good idea on his part as well. But anyway, the condition that Alex gave me was that actually I should just give him a synopsis, not a script. So some people call it the Marvel style, the way Stan Lee worked with his co-creators like Ditko and Jack Kirby. So he had 100% autonomy on the visuals.
Okay. Yeah.
So I could not interrupt him anytime in that process. I had to wait for him to send me an email of a photo of the, the artwork.
So how is he working? He's well.
He
this
works with all sorts of acrylics or brushes, and the original drawings are on a large art board, 18 inches by 24.
Okay. Yeah. So like
Yeah.
it's big.
Yeah, yeah. So, but that was the condition that he gave me. Just leave me alone to do the visuals. So I knew that he would be interpreting things differently from how I envisioned. But I wanted him to be the star of the graphic novel, really. So I told him, Alex, bring back the 1970s and 1980s Alex Nino, the one that did all the heavy metal
Okay.
stories and the Warren magazine. You know, bring that back. He said, okay. So I knew that whatever interpretation he did, I would have to adjust to that. So a lot of my script actually had to be readjusted.
So you changed the
suit.
script
Yeah,
when
because
when you
here-
got the drawings.
He did not draw panels. Every page is a poster.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I had the dirty job of interrupting his artwork with my words. So that was the challenge working with him. But everything else was an enormous privilege, actually. He's quite elusive. He doesn't let anybody into his space, really. But with me, he's quite open. So I have that privilege of, I can visit him in his studio and hang out with him all day.
Yeah.
And bother him for autographs or whatever.
So and in the end, when you got the panels, then you were adjusting the.
Yes, I had to adjust because there were some scenes that I thought he would highlight, but instead he put them in the background in gray.
Yeah.
So that's where I had to, make certain adjustments to the narrative.
Yeah.
And the dialogue.
Yeah, I do the same when I work. Also, I'm the artist and the
Right,
writer
right.
in one person.
Right.
But sometimes I find out, okay, you can just erase the text here because you see that in the drawing, or I find out that actually there is something missing in the
Right.
drawings. You have to explain something here, and then you need text, text box or more dialogue. So it's always changing. That's why I put the speech bubbles and the text boxes on a different layer in Photoshop. So that you can always change the size or the position.
But you had full control over your own changes.
Yeah, yeah.
So in my case, Alex lives in California. I live in Manila. When I was working on this, I was living in Manila.
Yeah.
So it was all done through phone calls.
Yeah, email.
He doesn't like email, so I have to call him. Yeah.
So how did he send you the images then?
I picked them up. I went to the States to visit my grandmother. It just so happened that was the time he said, "Oh, your artwork's ready."
So he's just okay. So you send him the script and he works on it, and then you go there, pick the artwork.
I
and then it's
emailed
done.
the synopsis to his son. And then when I visited him in his studio when I was going to pick up the artwork, he printed out the synopsis that I sent, and he was also doodling on that, even on the back.
Yeah.
And he gave them to me.
Wow.
So I have all the...
Is there a making of section in the back of the book?
What they put here in the German edition is a script. Yeah, they
There's a script, yeah.
But
I want to see the doodles.
I wrote an afterword talking about how everything happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so
So
that's
that-
him.
Yeah, that
He's
would have been fun to see.
Turning 85
the
this
doodles.
year,
Wow.
and he's still active on Instagram. He just posted something this morning. Another artwork that he's doing on monochrome.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Very cool. I look forward to read the book.
Oh, thank you. I started on your Johnny Cash,
Oh,
so I
good.
should be finished by the time I get to Manila.
Yeah. Listen to the music.
Yes, yes, I love Johnny Cash. Yeah. Well,
Okay.
it was a pleasure.
Pleasure to talk to you.
Pleasure talking to you. Pleasure meeting
Yeah.
you. Pleasure discussing comics and Morricone and Sergio Leone and
Absolutely.
everybody else.
Yeah. So let's go and have a coffee then.
Yeah.